The Vice Guide to Travel series is a set of documentary films produced by the media brand Vice, beginning in 2006. The whole series has been immensely successful, but The Vice Guide to North Korea stands out for its popularity, with over 6 million views on YouTube. A co-founder of Vice, Shane Smith, travelled to North Korea with a cameraman to film the notoriously secretive country. The Vice Travel Guide to North Korea is a clear example of the participatory mode of documentary, with the filmmakers interacting with the participants of the film, amongst other features. Unlike observational documentary, the participatory mode welcomes direct engagement between filmmaker and subject, with the filmmaker becoming a part of the events being recorded. According to the theories of Bill Nichols, participatory documentary treats knowledge as what we learn from personal interactions, what people say or do when confronted or engaged by others, and what interview or other forms of interaction can convey. The Vice Guide to North Korea illustrates this theory. Throughout the documentary, the narrator and director, Shane Smith, appear in multifacets of voiceover narrator, interviewer, and interviewee. What's interesting about this documentary is that the mode is directly influenced by the content, which is North Korea. The nature of the country means that conducting interviews or eliciting a free, natural conversation is nearly impossible, which is why Smith does so much of the narrating as well as being interviewed on the experience himself. Even though his time in North Korea is spent observing, he is not a passive observer, but an active participator. He is just participating in what North Korea will allow him to. This isn't a heavily produced film. Techniques such as voiceover and sync sound are used, but the actual quality of the footage and editing are basic. Once again, this is due to the conditions in which it was filmed, with North Korea only allowing certain filming equipments in and reviewing the footage before it's allowed to leave the country. The filming is continuous, telling a story of Smith and his cameraman trying to enter North Korea from Korea and China and finally arriving, and it ends with them still in North Korea, which leads on to the parts 2 and 3 of the series. Archival footage is used throughout the film, which is another trait of participatory documentary mode. The voice of this film is characterized by the strong engagement of the audience. The whole film is Smith speaking on his experiences, which makes it much more relatable to the audience. Bill Nichols believed that the participatory documentary was restricted by allowing the direction of the film to be controlled by others, which may result in it losing its independence of judgment. This basically sums up the Vice Guide to North Korea. The whole premise of this film, part 1 of the series, is the authoritarian state of and nature of North Korea. At around the 7-minute mark, Smith is allowed to enter North Korea. He goes into detail about everything that is not allowed to be taken into the country or done in the country. This is specifically the subject controlling what the filmmaker sees and the outcomes of the footage, with the subject being North Korea. One of the ethical concerns associated with the participatory documentary are the questions of manipulation or distortion. The filmmaker is actively influencing the content by participating in the narrative. The film is pretty biased against North Korea. The filmmakers are pretty biased against North Korea. Although in the film Smith makes multiple references to it being weird and strange, it's most interestingly that the film shows its bias by pointing out the bias and propaganda used by North Korea against America, which is where Vice and the filmmakers are located. So it's a very interesting paradox there. As a whole, the filmmakers have used the participatory mode of documentary and specifically stylistic choices to convey their message to the viewers. The whole Vice Guide to Travel series, with this documentary included, is about showing viewers offbeat or weird or dangerous places that are relatively unknown. Shane Smith and Vice Media have used this participatory documentary and the subject of North Korea to convey this message from America to the world.